We're going to get started on our last presentation, and I'm so excited that we've got Joan Van Orman coming all the way from Transylvania County, where it's hailing, we just found out. But we're excited to have her come talk to us a little bit about marketing. So everyone, please welcome Joan.
Great. Yes, we have this last session, and what an inspiring morning and afternoon. Just so many ideas, and I hope you'll learn a few other tricks and tips in this marketing session. And with everything we've learned today, it's just been great. And next one. Today, our agenda will be, first of all, a marketing approach, something that's simple, that we all can do. I have a passion for marketing, and I'm really blessed, I feel, to be working in my chosen field my whole career. Earlier it was telecommunications, and now art marketing. And it's really fun. There's so many easy ways to market, and I hope to share a few of those today. A quick and easy marketing audit. Often when I meet with clients, they feel, I need a new business card, I need a new brochure, I need to update my website, and it just seems like, so broad a scope. And really, when we sit down, we go, oh, wow, you've got a great logo. This will work. Let's find out where your gaps are. So I have a tool that you can look at to do a simple marketing audit. And then creative examples. Ingrid shared that it wasn't necessary to have a presentation. However, I've worked with so many wonderful and generous artisans over the years, and they say, absolutely, share my examples. And I find that very inspiring. So hopefully that will inspire you as well. So I wanted to share some creative examples. And then I just had a lightning round section of tips. It's interesting that about mid-May, so almost a month ago now, I partnered with the Blue Ridge Community College Small Business Center, and we put on hosted by Blue Ridge Community College, SBC, just fabulous in helping artisans and all our local and regional business. And the workshop conference was the Business of Art conference. And so we had a panel discussion at one point, and we used a lightning round, and I kind of liked that. So I thought, well, I'll add a lightning round of tips, and then you can always ask questions as well. Thank you. Next slide. This is an approach I used for marketers and my own business. I mentioned earlier that we moved here in Western North Carolina in 2004. In 2006, I opened a photography gallery with a friend and worked with a lot of a lot of artisans in that gallery, and also had a marketing business on the side, and realized that a lot of folks, and including our small business, we needed an approach to guide us. So came up with focus. And first of all, and I have a slide on each of these to go through a little more detail, but first of all, find your market. All of us have specific skills, talents, areas of interest, and customers, clients that our work speaks to. And you want to identify your market and really find who's that market that your work really resonates with. And I'm sure we've all heard at one time or another that it's easier to keep a client than get a new client. And the other is, when you find clients that like your work, if you find more clients that have, that are similar, that's a great way to go. So find and identify your market. The next one, optimize your plan. Oftentimes with small businesses, we have a lot of opportunity, and you might be able to advertise in the local paper. There's regional publications, there's radio shows. Now there's so much social media available. And where are you going to spend your time? And more importantly, where will you spend your hard-earned financial dollars? And having a plan makes it so much easier. So have a simple plan and optimize that plan. Then this is my personal favorite, create your visibility. Artisans, of course, there's so much creativity out there. How do you want to share your work with the world, and what type of visibility will resonate with your clients? So create your visibility, unite with your audience. And this is a personal favorite of mine because we all know people that they get their business cards, they get their website done, whatever, and then nothing. Do a business plan, sits on the shelf. And it's all great, it's great to have all that, but now take that step and unite with your audience. And earlier we heard Hannah talk about the day you become a business and when you start marketing, and it's important to make that jump to get the great tools that you've created out there. And then sustain and grow. And I'll talk a little bit more about this on another slide, but we all want to grow our business in general. We have the profit motive. I mean, most do want to grow in some form or fashion. And sometimes we've seen evidence of it recently. Things change. And I personally, in my business, 2014 was a really rough year for me. And being a sole proprietor, you sometimes have to say, okay, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to sustain. Then I'm going to move forward. And so that resonates with me. Find your market. And I think it's important as for any business to have a position in the market. And if you think of even the large companies that we all know, they really have a niche, let's say, that they're in for your customers. And when you look at our area here in Western North Carolina, there's something about this area that is just amazing when it comes to the creative economy. And that's great for all of us. That's great for our visitors. That's great for our businesses. And also it shows that it's important, like, okay, with everything wonderful that's going on here in the art world, how can I distinguish my business? And that's really positioning. And so I gave this example for my business. As a marketing consultant, I am the one marketer who works with photographers and artisans who are reluctant to market and promote their work. I find a lot of the artists, the ones that I knew in the gallery I had, and many of the ones I meet, would much rather work on their craft and the things that interest them versus marketing. And there's also, I think this is ending a lot, and I think social media is probably a contributor to that, because people want to get out there and share their work. But some people just feel, my work speaks for itself, and I don't feel comfortable. And I understand that because I'm a reluctant marketer for my business. I always say I'm a behind-the-scenes person. I'd love to write a press release for an artist. I don't really want to write a press release for my business. And so I do get that. However, that's the way that one becomes known and you get your work out there. So that's an example. Optimize your plan. Here's a simple one-page marketing plan that you could use. Positioning, we talked about that. What is your niche? How are you different? And how is your work different than others in your category? Your target audience, who are you specifically targeting with your products and services? What are your marketing objectives? What do you have sales goals, business goals, numbers of publications that you want to be in? So setting some goals, and then different strategies. That could be something as simple as the number of times you plan to post on a social media site. It could be using, I always like to say for a strategy, using cost-effective and efficient ways to reach people. One example is a press release. I mean, a strategy could be, for you, could be, okay, I'm going every quarter or every 2 months, I'm going to write a press release and get it out to specific media publications about my work. So those are just a few types of different strategies. Key messages, having a list of what you want to communicate about your business and using these messages again and again. And the way I like to do it is if you had some type of a brochure, you can't talk about everything in that brochure, but what are the key things that you would say about your business, about yourself as an artisan, perhaps about the materials you use, regardless of the type of art business you have. What are the key messages that you want to get out about your business? Make it happen. This is one, again, like using your materials. A lot of times people will come up with a plan and then it doesn't go anywhere. And when I get down a little further, I'm going to talk a little bit about a content calendar. But that's one example. Let's say you come up with your calendar for the month, like we're going into July. So this is what I'm going to do in July. These are the types of things I'm going to post. I'm going to get out my press release. You have everything done, and then something comes up and doesn't get done. So I always say make it happen. You have your content calendar, and now I'm going to get it out there in the world. Now, things may come up that are beyond our control, but the make it happen are things that we can control. And I'll give one other example. When I had the gallery on this side street in Brevard, it wasn't on Main Street. We didn't get that much traffic. And traffic in retail is really important. And so there was a committee that came up with an idea to have the Fourth Friday gallery walks. And I think that those are popular in so many communities. And we implemented those, and hey, that was something that we could control to make have a better chance for folks to visit our gallery than we didn't. So there are things that we can all do to make our marketing and our business more favorable. And then the tactics, what are you going to use to reach your audience, whether it's business cards, websites, social media, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. As well as the calendar, I think it's important to have some type of a media content calendar that you can follow to get the word out. Your budget, and then tracking and evaluation. So that's just an example of a simple marketing plan. And then create your visibility. This is an area that I said is probably one of the most fun, and I heard a lot of talk today about having the appropriate or having, great marketing materials that you can send in when asked for in a grant application. You can also use them for custom work. You could use them at an event or a festival, or to send to a potential client or submission to get your work published. There's so many reasons. So this is an example of, thank you, this is an example of a toolkit, the next one, that we worked on with a client. Some of you may know Bonnie Cooper. She's a local area photographer. And one of the messages, I guess, that I wanted to share was, it doesn't have to be super expensive or a lot of comprehensive work. It's more tracking and gathering information. This is just a simple folder that we got at the office supply store, and you can see the outside. We used her brand colors we created a label and used the brand colors, and it had all the different types of materials that are needed. For example, you saw the cover letter. Sometimes if you're wanting to approach a gallery, for example, and you check out their submission guidelines, you could use having your cover letter ready is great. There's also an example of, earlier someone mentioned having a resume. There in the middle is an example of the resume, which shows all the exhibits and places where she has exhibited over the years. Then there's also the artist statement, as well as a sample press release. And another thing that's popular, well, two things, on the very far side, different samples of the work. And oftentimes in grants, we're asked to put in samples of work, and then you even having little thumbnails all on one sheet. It's a great tool for you to have kind of in your toolkit. And if you look up behind there, or excuse me, below there, there are two examples, collages of press. And those are examples as you get press. If you clip them, or you can take a screenshot if you have if there's an online version where information has appeared about your work or an exhibit you're in, take a screenshot, or if you actually have the publication, you can take a snapshot of that and then work it into just a one-page document. And it's really nice if you are, applying for or approaching a gallery or having some type of other contact with a potential customer. It's a record of you are getting press, and it's really exciting. And so to look back to and see the areas where your work has appeared. So when it all comes together, it just makes a nice toolkit, and it's ready. Once you have it done, it's ready, and then you can use it as needed for a variety of work assignments or potential projects. And here's another example. This is one, Olga Durenko, who has a gallery in the River Arts District. And again, I just showed two examples because when you talk about the niche, you can see that it's very different from one artist to another, and the branding comes across, and in Olga's case, the vibrancy of her work. And here we used, again, just a simple folder. We did the artist bio, the cover letter, work samples. Also, many times when approaching galleries or in other situations, the price sheet is requested, and that's often, times something that many times artists are like, well, wow, how should I price my work? So it's nice to have a template with your general pieces, price ranges that you can share with someone on an as-needed basis. And then another example of a press release. And I want to just talk a little bit about press releases because I found that, again, for my own business, it's, I don't want to send a press release and talk about myself in my work and that type of thing. But in general, the press love getting information from local businesses and regional businesses. And if you there's many different ways to learn how to write a press release if that's something that you haven't had to do before. And if like anything with a Google search, you can find a very easy template. And the one that I've used on, for so long, you just put your contact information up in the left-hand column, headline, and then just like this morning when we heard about the process for writing the artist support grant, another process I just put right across the page. When you write a press release, you want to do the who, what, where, when, how, and why. I put those words right across the top, and then I make sure that I've answered every one of those questions. And you can also look in your local paper or magazines, and there's often press release examples that you can go by. When you see an artist event or coverage for an artist or coverage for a band, whatever it is, you can look and say, okay, I can kind of see how they've, framed their communication. And another source for great examples, if you go to any large business and go to the media room on a website, They will have press releases that they've just provided to the media, and you can look at them and see how they're framed. Usually they're not, I mean, I say anything 250 words, I think you probably want to make a press release. You want to really have something to say and have it, it's news. It's something that's news. It's not sales, but something that you want to get out to the public that's news. And answer those questions, and, you know, the local press, they don't guarantee it. However, you know, there's usually a lot of good response when you do send that in. So I recommend putting a press release in your toolkit. And another point about a press release, for those of you that do have a website, which I know many artists do, you can put that right on your site. It doesn't mean that folks have to, it has to be published anywhere. On my website, when I launched my business, I did put a press release out, and it did go on certain publications, but it sits there on my website, and then people can go and learn more about my business. And when you have a new product or service, or you're going to have a show or work a concert, whatever the case might be, you can write your press release, send it out to your publications where you know your audience is going to be watching or listening, and put it on your website or your social media sites. So there's a lot of use for that. As far as content, this is another thing where I feel that often artists will say, well, what am I going to write about? And I just don't want to talk about my business. And so I sat down with one of our wonderful local artists in Transylvania County, Sharon Fogel, and these are just in 20 minutes. These are the ideas that we came up with. And it doesn't have to be difficult. It's just things that resonate with you and your business, and things that you believe will resonate with your customers, and, you know, the authenticity of your story and your work. These are just a couple of examples. And on Sharon's case, we talked, hey, people love inspiration. Where do you get your inspiration? Barns, Brevard, trees, rivers. She talked about business, doing commission work, creating a quality product, how to plan an exhibit. And these types of topics, they can be about your end work, your process, your collaborations. So there are many, many ideas. And sometimes when we sit down, we think, oh, I don't know. You know, people don't want to hear about that. Yes, they do. They want to hear our stories. And this is just an example in 20 minutes. So I encourage folks to just sit down and make a list. If you wanted to tell stories about your business, what would the key themes be, and what are some specific ideas? Next, thank you. And I wanted to show one of Sharon's beautiful pieces of artwork. She displays her work at No. 7 Art Gallery, and for those of you that come down to visit Brevard and the wonderful scenery there, it's right at the corner of Main and South Broad. And she's primarily does watercolors and many, many other types of paintings. This is a fun picture, one of our local photographers, Jack Crisfield, and he kind of caught that moment that, to me, just shares, unite with your audience. And one fun thing about that image, too, if you look at it, everybody in the picture, it's kind of, you know, shielding, like kind of telling a little bit of a secret. And this is where we say, in today's world, share. If you create your toolkit, your logo, your business card, your cover letter, examples of your work on the individual sheets, your bio, resume, and it doesn't go anywhere, no. Or or you create your Facebook page and don't post it. And I'm guilty of this, believe me. Now that I do primarily work with the Arts Council now, and so I said, well, okay, but the tools are there for us, and connect. And that really makes a difference, getting the word out about your business. Thanks. And sustain and grow. This is for my business, but I would ask all of you to sit down and think about, what are the tools and suggestions that you have for your own business and sustaining and growing that business. So for mine, I say, well, marketing and advertising. I've picked, certain publications over the years. And again, because now I am more focused on one client, I don't do as much of this. But when I was having my business, primarily working with photographers and artisans, I would use marketing. I would use some paid advertising in very targeted publications. Example, some publications that might go to tourism, for example, people visiting our area, artists that belong to certain organizations. There's always ways that you can target and find the people that you're looking for. I would also focus on content development and things that I wanted to talk about, kind of like the information that I showed you for Sharon. Creative collaborations, that to me is one of the most fun things about marketing and about marketing in the arts. And I've heard so many people mention the opportunities for collaboration, and that's another thing that I think about this area and art specifically in Western North Carolina. I feel the art community is such a generous community. And when I think about the gallery walks and all the opportunities that come about because of folks getting together and the galleries helping each other out, and if someone, maybe a coffee shop gets involved because there's an artist that wants to present their work, but there isn't a spot for it. I mean, there's so many ways that artists help artists out. And one idea, I can't remember who said it this morning, but I really liked it, I wrote down, was the hall, the art in the hall. And I thought, wow, that is so cool, to have your art displayed in City Hall. How wonderful. And just to hear about ideas like that and the opportunities for collaborations with different organizations and different businesses is just great. And then my personal mantra, and I always use this, have fun, continue to learn, and give back. I think that's why when Ingrid said, well, you don't have to be here for the whole day, I said, oh, yes, I do. And I left Brevard in time to get here on time, but I failed to recognize what building I needed to be in. And I didn't realize you had such a wonderful campus here. So I did meet the gentleman in one of the other buildings, and he directed me here, and everybody was so wonderful. But the opportunity to learn, I just think it's such a vibrant field, and I can tell from today that there are so many people that just crave that learning and what's next as well. And then I say tracking and evaluation, because some things, I mean, even if you have something that you don't have to pay for financially, it always is going to take time, or money, because you can get somebody to do your marketing, you can get somebody to do your taxes, get somebody to build your website, or you can do it yourself. And in that case, it's going to take time. And even the fun things take time. And so I think it's so important to track, and most of the websites have tools to track. The social media has tools to track. You know where your customers are coming from, an event that you did, or a commission that somebody referred you, whatever the case might be. And so you want more of those things that are really making a positive difference for your business. And then, okay, what isn't working so well? Collaboration. I wanted to share this. This is, and piece of art. It was actually a photograph and a painting by artist Ann DeGara, who has the Red Wolf Gallery in Brevard. It's been a long time, wonderful gallery in our area, and she does so much for the art community. And I will say for our region in Transylvania County, Ann was a judge last year for the Artist Support Grants, and I'm sure has been many other times as well. And Sue Hershey, Sue was my business partner in the gallery. She's a photographer, and this came about because of an opportunity for an art exhibit at the Arts Council, and it was one on collaboration. And it was wonderful to see the different types of artists that came together to work together that you might not have put together at first thought. And Ann is a painter and printmaker. In this instance, it was a painting that she took a canvas that Sue had created of a photograph and then painted over it. So, and after this hung in the art show, it went to Red Wolf Gallery, where it did not take long before it sold. And again, a wonderful example of collaboration. And when I think about marketing, I do like to use this quote. My husband and I grew up in Maine, and I'm a longtime fan of LL Bean. And do you all know LL Bean? It's a big outdoor store, open 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. And the founder's rule was sell good merchandise at a reasonable profit, treat your customers like human beings, and they will always come back for more. And I just love this next slide because my husband got a check from LL Bean. He overpaid for something. This was in the 1980s, but they sent him a check for a penny. And I always say the funny thing is that he didn't cash it. Knowing him, he didn't cash it. But I thought, wow, that is pretty cool that business, when he overpaid, they sent him a check. And I think that's a reminder to me that marketing is so much more than our social media feeds or, our communication. It's, how we treat the customer, how we, forge those relationships. And marketing is propelling what is already there. That's from a photographer in South Carolina, John Holloway. And I just think that again, is a wonderful sentiment when we think about marketing, because we're all different. We all have different niches, skills, passions, and the challenge is finding those and then communicating those to our customers and our potential customers. And we have a few more minutes here, and here's the quick marketing audit that I mentioned, and this goes along with the focus approach. And if you think in the middle of having your position and your niche, and regardless of your field, I know there's many musicians here, visual artists, photographers, writers, and my work has mostly, to be candid, has been with photographers and artisans, visual artists, more so than the other fields. I do know that in the Business of Art conference we just had, one of our panelists was a musician, and he gave so many wonderful tips for finding your niche in that area, and sharing. Like, one of the things that he shared was just finding space of where to play. And he said, I have played in so many different places, and don't think, oh, wow, no, that's not gonna, fit for me. And just, really be open and expansive. And as far as the light, oh, yeah, no, same one, I'm sorry. I keep looking, I was gonna, could you go back one? Yeah, okay, because I want to just run through that. Do you have a plan? We talked about a simple plan, looking at your niche, who's your target audience? What do you want your key messages to be about you as an artist, about your work, your background. What are those key messages? And if you had, we've heard about the elevator speech, if you had a few moments to talk to someone about your passion and your work, take some time to craft that and just say, hey, I'm going to, be ready with, my niche, have my plan. What are your visibility tools? Everybody doesn't need the same thing. I know in Transylvania County, one thing that's really popular are the rack cards where they're just, 4 by 9 inches, basically front and back. And those are a wonderful tool to summarize your art, to get the word out. And however, you may have some different ideas. I personally really like having the toolkit because it gives you some versatility on the types of materials, and you can always add and subtract as well. Going around the circle, are you sharing your tools? Okay, you've got your great logo, you've got your business cards, and now are they out there? And so I encourage you to use the materials. Are you tracking your results? If you have a website, Google has great tracking tools, as does social media. So then you can see, are your programs working? Continue to refresh, sustain, and grow. And if they are working, great, add more. If they aren't, where are their gaps? Where are some tools that you want to explore? And a couple things. One is, and I loved the video that we saw earlier, the dance video. Kudos, that was wonderful. And one of the things that I had wanted to do, and now I'm glad I didn't, because I do take, one of my personal passions that I've been working on is learning video and taking videography lessons. And my videographer teacher, I said, I want to do a little video, and we'll do it, and we'll put some tips together from you for the group. And of course, time got away from me, so he graciously let me take a video of him and had different suggestions, let's say. But I really encourage you, I always say, if I can do it, anybody can do it. However, it was not like the video that we saw earlier. That was, so wonderful. However, taking a moment and putting together a video with the iPhone and the other smartphones have tools, templates, and I have even been amazed at the videos that I can do in like a minute, putting together a minute-long video or a 2-minute video using those tools and templates. And so I encourage you to try some new things like that, because people love video, and it's so popular right now. Another tool that I would recommend is, and I am guilty of having some apps that I get and then I do not use. However, this one I love, and some of you may use it. It's called Canva, and it is a free tool. However, the cost, I believe, is a little over $100 if you get the Pro version, which has so many tools. And the earlier slides I showed you of the client, I did not use Canva for that, and it took a while. In Canva, there's so many templates that you can create something. It's made for graphic designers who don't have all the graphic design training, although many graphic designers use it as well. So I encourage you to explore that, and you could even start with the free version, see how you like it, and then you get more opportunity for different templates, more photography that you can use and things like that. So that's a wonderful tool as well. Next slide. Okay, the lightning round, I'm just going to go through and just give a recap and some other quick tips for you. And I say, develop an artisan's toolkit, materials that you have ready to go for exhibits, submissions, media use, price sheet, color sheet. That's the color sheet is where you have your examples of your artwork right on there. Define your niche. What is unique about your work, and how are you differentiated from the other wonderful artisans in this area and in other areas? Write a press release and use the template for future releases. Join with a few other fellow artisans and create your own exhibit. That's another tip that space is a concern sometimes, but oftentimes there are buildings that are available or hallways. We have a wonderful gallery, the Hollingsworth Gallery in Brevard, it is a hallway space, but it's between two businesses, and every month they have a new art exhibit, and it's a wonderful opportunity, even for a solo show or to pair with other folks. I want to make sure my time, okay, we're getting there. Develop a media kit. Again, that's very similar to the toolkit that I mentioned. Be available to press for special publications, quick answers, and opportunities. If you have, especially in this area where art is so prevalent, if you come up with some press contacts, places that you would really aspire to have your work shown, represented, or an article about your business, develop a relationship with that publication or that press and be available if they have questions. Be present online, and I said develop a simple social media plan that fits the needs and time for your business. Use only the tools that reach your customers and simplify. And here's a quick example, and this is another app that I did get, and I don't use it as much, but I really do like it, Skillshare. And I took a content development class. It's an online, some of you may have seen, they have that master class where different people will teach different topics, but Skillshare is a great source for learning, excuse me, for learning so many things. And I took a content development class, and this particular calendar, I give credit to the Media Palm. Her name is Chanel, and she came up with this template, and when you take the class, you can download it. I've used it so many times. It paid for my Skillshare subscription. And basically, though, it's an Excel spreadsheet, and it has, you just put the days of the month on. And then she has content opportunities, things like the name of the opportunity, the date and time, what you want to capture, when you want to post it. She has monthly prompts. What are some monthly prompts that work for you and your business? And then you just create, and it's color-coded, like whatever your platforms are. If you use Instagram, you color-code, I'm going to post on Instagram this many times a week, etc. And I just find it really great. And then it has other opportunities for ideas and content that you want to develop. And many people are probably more proactive than I am. And sometimes I find that if you have a calendar and you say, okay, this is what I'm going to accomplish in my business for this month, it does make it easier. And that gets back to my tip about make it happen. Because there's a lot of things that are out of our control, and there are many, many things that are in our control. Focus your creative energy in the direction that you want to grow. And that's another slide from the photographer John Holloway that I just think speaks volumes, because we all only have so much time. And so to focus on those things that really, really we find impactful. And that's it. Thank you.
Quick questions, maybe if we got any questions? Yep. Maybe take 2 or 3 real quick.
Perfect timing.
Okay, I know you were talking about social media, and I know that's kind of one of, especially post-COVID, we've all kind of had to touch on it at some point. And I know right now there's a big push for the content, the creators being content creators. What point, so for me, I'm a potter. Okay. What percentage of your business time would you set aside for content creation for your marketing? For example, you don't want to sit here and spend all your time doing a vlog about doing pottery if you're supposed to be making the piece. So what do you think is a healthy ratio? And I realize it ranges. It does, because there's gonna be, like, a visual artist is gonna be one, while a musical artist is gonna be another. But still, what's
Right.
a healthy ratio, you would say?
Well, before I get to a ratio, I think it's like anything in terms of how you manage your time and productivity, and perhaps because we all work differently also, and I know some people just decide, okay, on Tuesday mornings from 8 to 10, this is when I'm gonna get my posts ready, and this is when I'm gonna develop my content. And you know, I haven't really thought about it in a percentage basis, but I think at least 20%. If I'm just looking at everything that one has to do in their business, I think marketing is a big chunk of that. So 20%, I'd probably say a minimum. But I do think having a structure that works for you. I also knew a person, and I know everybody has a different idea on what they want to do on the weekends, and she took Sunday afternoons and really laid out her social media content for a variety. It wasn't just one business, it was businesses and nonprofits. She was also a marketing person, and she did multiple content across multiple. And so she would batch her work. And so that seems to work for folks versus, you know, every day I'm going to do a little bit. I think that's a little tougher, really. And that's why I'm a proponent of using the calendar and having some type of key, okay, this week, these are the things I'm going to concentrate on, and these are the messages I want to get out. And that's another reason, whether or not you use Canva or another tool, sometimes it's wonderful to have those templates ready, that you have a few that go along with your branding, go along with your business, and then you can pop a message in there. So I mean, I'm kind of a recommender of the batch approach.
Because I do a lot of my stuff on Instagram. What I find out on Instagram, when you sit here and you post a story, you know, people will see it. It's just in your group. When it comes to art, when you do a reel and you actually are showing them, hey, I am putting this clay or ceramic, or how I show a picture. If I just show a picture, hey, it's done, my canvas is done, I will get views. But they like it when they see me when I mix my paint, when I pour it on my canvas, how I use my technique, how I stretch it, and the final. Your views will go from 10 to, I mean, I've gotten like 20,000 views on a reel. Wow. And it keeps getting, people just keep posting. And that's how you reach it. And it's funny how you could post something on your story, get nothing. But you do a reel or something like that, I shouldn't say a story. You post it on your feed and you may not get anything. You do a story or a reel and you are in motion on that reel. That's where it takes off.
Yeah, I follow several artists by exactly that reason. ASMR.
Yes.
I love all that.
Right.
Maybe one more question, anybody? I saw a couple hands. Yes, one last thing. So Joan,
One point, thank you. I liked what you said about showing your work, and people love to see it. And I will say, with working in galleries, this is a simple thing, but you know the hang tags that come on pieces of work, and people may have a picture of themselves or a picture of their product and what went into it. That makes it special. It's like a little piece of the artist even. And I encourage you, and it's a wonderful way too to differentiate yourself. And customers love it. They treat it like it's something that they kind of did pay for it, but it's a little something extra. And it does remind me of how clients love to know the backstory about the artist. So thank you. Thank you, Jen. Okay, appreciate it. Appreciate it.